Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the ACCN podcast. I'm your host, Shivani.
And I'm your host, Cassandra, and today we'll be talking about how youth can find themselves in climate employment.
Great. So today we are joined by Dwayne, a recruitment wizard, and he's here to share all his wisdom on how youth can find jobs within the climate sector. So Dwayne, before we kick off the entertaining conversation, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Dwayne. I work with Shortlist as a recruitment, as a project manager, where my role is to ensure that the jobs we take on and the companies we work with are within our mandate, which is to place the youth into clean energy jobs.
Cool. So we know that in Africa, we have very talented youth and very talented individuals coming out of university. And don't quote me here, but I believe there are about, the last time I checked the stat, I think there are like 11 million youth graduating every year. And I don't believe we even have jobs to cover these 11 million youth. And so I guess climate and the climate sector provides a strong potential to find these individuals jobs within the sector, and to move within, like to could transfer their skill sets, whether it's HR backgrounds, whether it's finance, whether it's accounting, into this up and coming sector that is unavoidable. So I guess my question is, from your experience with recruiting for youth in Africa through the clean energy programs, is like, what are one of the emerging opportunities for employment, especially within the Africa climate sector?
I think there's, maybe first we need to demystify what clean jobs are. Mm-hmm. I think we assume that we need a special certification to be in the clean energy sector, which you don't unless you're doing something like solar engineering. So that said, the sector has jobs for everyone, literally from customer service to solar technicians to finance guys. You just have to know where to look. It's a growing sector. It's one of the, don't quote me, but it's one of the most funded, and it's set to continue being funded. You just have to know where to look for those jobs. But anyone can literally get into the clean energy sector or the green economy.
And I guess let's take a step back, but I know we mentioned this in our first episode, but it's like, how do you define what a green job is? Because people would think that's like, I need a climate background.
Okay, I'll have to read. But I would say any job that, any company that's rather, any job that's tied into environmental benefits, such as reducing pollution, conserving resources, or promoting clean energy. That is what you would call, a green job.
Do you think you're working in a green job right now?
Yes, because in a way we support those companies that are doing that kind of stuff. So I would say green adjacent.
Love it. I'll hop in with a question. So what would you tell someone coming from a non-climate background about the steps they'd need to take to enter the sector?
Network?
Yeah,
find the right people. Find people in that sector. See if you want to be in that sector. Most funded, but the budgets tend to be a bit lower for roles. So first you need to confirm that you want to be in that sector. You're willing sometimes to take a pay cut. When I say network, I mean go to events for clean energy, but also LinkedIn. We forget that LinkedIn is a networking platform. So follow the right people, follow the right pages, talk to people, talk to recruiters. We are much nicer than we seem on the phone. But yeah, networking in person and online, and then just do your research on the sector and see if you really want to be part of it.
It's interesting that you should mention networking, especially in this forum, because we're talking about or highlighting the importance of a network like ACCN, which is Africa Climate Careers Network. And I would hope that as people continue to join the network, they do get the value that you're talking about in terms of meeting to and speaking with people already in the space to kind of demystify what these roles are, to get to hear where the opportunities are and more. But I wanted to ask you about the skills. So a lot of times I speak to the ACCN community about transferable skills, project management, leadership, communication, and all that. As a recruiter, how important do you think that is for people to be able to pivot into the sector?
Um, Good question. I think what we get a lot also when we network is what skills do I need to be in that sector? And people assume again it's a special skill. But you've mentioned it's a transferable skill. So you need to be able, top three, communicate. You need to problem solve, critical thinking. I'd say those skills cut across whichever sector you're going to. How important are they? Very important. For example, if you don't have the experience in a particular field or a particular sector, how do you sell yourself? You need to communicate. Sell yourself, communicate in writing, communicate your plans, communicate how you will bring change to this company or how your role will fit into this company. You need to problem solve, right? Again, whatever sector you're in, there's always something to solve. There's always an issue that someone needs help with, or the organization needs to sort out. And I think one of the important skills, one of the things I've had to really get comfortable with is problem solving. So I'd say they're very important, especially if you don't have the right background or the background to get into that field.
Okay, thank you.
And if someone is trying to, I guess, get into this new field and maybe they're right out of university or they have a few years of experience, but whether it's like, say I'm like an accountant, but I want to get into like carbon accounting, what would your advice be? Like, how would I like go about that process?
I'd say look for internship opportunities in the organizations that have those kind of jobs available, or in the sector that you want, and internship, apprenticeship. But again, if you're not finding them, please don't sit at home and wait. Take any internship that you get. Because as we spoke about transferable skills, you're learning something. You're learning something that might help you get into the next internship. But first, target the companies that offer the kind of job that you want.
Shivani, have you come across any resources like Coursera or such that graduates could access in the event that they want to learn a little more, but maybe cost effectiveness is a factor?
Honestly, I think like in terms of like climate, like there's so much out there. Like even if you just Google something or use my favorite tool, which is ChatGPT. But either way, like I'm just saying, like there's a lot out there that you can just like if you Google like carbon markets, there are like 6 or 7 articles that just come online, and it's a good way to start and like pique interest. And then I think going from like LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn Learning to me personally has been super useful. The short courses that you can get on LinkedIn Learning is a few ways that I've upskilled myself. I guess yeah, I mean not to shout out, but like ACCN, like Kickstart Climate is also a cool way to get a very brief insight into different areas of climate and understanding the basics, and then from there seeing which sector you're specifically interested in maybe would be a good start, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. And sorry for putting you on the spot. I just thought you love learning and you've spoken to so many people that there's a world where in between both those pieces of advice would be useful to people listening to this today.
And I guess I've noticed is like when people say that they want to move into a new sector, a new area, it's very hard sometimes. Like you say, okay, you're very interested about, let's say, climate. I'm very interested about renewable energy. And yes, there are very many companies out there, but how do you know where to find these jobs? Like sometimes it's not very clear. You don't know where to start. Sometimes we don't think we have all the skills. How do we go about that?
Advanced tutoring.
I'd say start with research, as simple as your favorite tool, ChatGPT or Google. Just type top 10 clean energy companies in Kenya, top 20, clean energy organizations, stuff like that, and then whittle them down. And then, or job site, you could search for clean energy job boards. We have one. Forgive me, I forget the URL.
The climate job board. Well, I guess if you Google shortlist climate job board,
Yes.
You'll get to the right place.
And then, again, ask a recruiter. We are very present on LinkedIn. We are focused on this economy and this sector. So if you ask one of us, we're happy to guide. Yeah, let's just say, don't be afraid to ask people questions.
So in that sense, do like if I'm interested in like learning whether my CV fits particular roles or if I have skill sets or I'm trying to move into a sector, if I reach out to someone on shortlist, say like you or anyone on our team, is that something that they have accessible as a
Um,
resource, or how does it go? What's our process?
yeah, we do CV clinics, we do things like that. I, reaching out on LinkedIn should be a topic on its own because there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
Noted.
But you know, yeah, you could reach out and say, "This is what I'm looking at. Would you mind?" I mean, what I'm trying to say is, be clear in what you want. So reach out, introduce yourself, and say, "I need help with my CV. Would you have time?" Um, and again, resources are online for how to write your CV. What should you have on your CV? ChatGPT has it. It can help you. That could be your first guide. Use an internet solution to help you arrange your CV properly, and then say to a recruiter, "I've recently updated my CV. Do you mind having a look to see if it's in line with what I'm looking at?" And we should be able to help you there.
Okay. What are like 2 tricks that people should have on their CV actually, now that I want to know?
Um, I'm a big fan of achievements.
Okay.
Please list your achievements. Even if you can list them before the responsibilities, please list that. Of course, formatting, the more straightforward it is, the better. Just name, title, 3 or 5 skills, no hobbies, unless the company dictates for it, no religion, unless you're applying to a religious organization. But yeah, just straightforward, very good formatting, and then relevant experience. I know it's harder if you're especially young, if you're an intern, you don't know what's relevant, what's not. I'd say again, ask for help. Um, and put all your internship opportunity, anything that you've done in internship, put any university work that you've done that shows either leadership skills or those kind of skills. And then um, so achievements, good formatting will get you out there. And then there's no shame in, so if you see a role posted and they can see the recruiter's details, there's really no shame in reaching out and saying, "I applied for this role." That's one way to stand out. Say, "I applied for this role, be open to a conversation. I've attached my CV." If the recruiter's name is not listed, but you know there, don't reach out. But if it's right there, the information is there, that's one way to stand out.
Okay. Very cool.
And what would you say the importance of mentorship is when you're trying to build your career?
I think it's super important because you basically get insider knowledge of that sector, right? Especially if you're fresh into the sector. I mean, even if you're not, if you've worked for a few years and you need a different sector, to get into a different sector, I think it's important because you get inside information, you get someone who's helping guide your journey, help teaching you things that you don't think about, like what to ask during salary negotiation, or you're learning about new trends in that sector. I think you should also mostly be intentional with what you want out of mentorship. We all think it's a fun word. That just means mentor me. But what does mentorship look like to you? What do you want them to do for you? Is it regular sessions? Is it once a month meet up with your mentor? But for me, it would be it's my person on the inside of that sector. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, and I've also heard you can have mentors to address a specific need in your career journey, and it could be really they're just answering like one question or pointing you in the right direction or even just sharing their own journey that can unlock a lot of insight for you as a person. And I believe at ACCN we are providing some opportunity to speak to people.
Yeah, I mean, through ACCN, really, like one, there's the job board, so you can see what job opportunities are out there. But then, secondly, aside from that, is I think leveraging that network itself. How many people do we have on the platform right now? And all of those people, maybe a couple thousand, yeah. And a lot of them have their profiles and everything on it. It would be an interesting way is just maybe reach out to people that are within the community. They obviously came because they have similar interests. I would suggest that. I know. I feel like everyone is a little shy always to like reach out on LinkedIn. And so it's very intimidating to do that. But I mean, hey, there's no harm. What's the worst case scenario? You'll just get a no, right?
Blue ticked, but
Blue ticked, aired. It's fine. But
yeah, but like Doing says, I think you expect it to some degree, and when the message is clear, you're happy to provide some guidance.
Yes, very important. When the message is clear, when you know exactly what you want, what you're looking for, then we are happy to help.
Okay, fantastic.
I wonder actually that's an interesting, and you mentioned this is like reach out to people over LinkedIn. Sometimes I think people just reach out for the specific reason, be like, I want a job kind of situation. But do you think it's worth like reaching out to individuals or people that you find interesting within the sector, not for a job, but just, learn about their journey, like try and see how they got there, and maybe it will spark something, an interest or an idea, something around that?
I think you should. I'd say maybe easier if you reach out to someone who's very active. People who post a lot tend to be the ones who would be open to speaking to you, open to guiding you. You might find the perfect person, but maybe they just not into that thing. So I'd say look at the frequent posters, the ones who are building a network of their own. I think it's worth reaching out because, again, that's another type of mentorship they could offer.
Yeah.
They're most likely to post things that are relevant to your growth or a job that you're looking for. So it's worth reaching out.
Great. And then, looking in-house, like how we look to Cassandra if we need something.
I don't have all the answers, guys. I try.
Our ops guru doesn't have all the answers.
What can I say?
Well, I guess, Dwayne, do you have any other advice for youth? What would be that advice be?
I had controversial advice from a book I read that my uncle gave me years ago. It said at the start of your career, work to learn and not to earn. I'm not saying go out there and not be paid for your work, but sometimes if the salary is non-existent or is not immediately exciting, but you need to pick up some new skills, I'd say bite the bullet and work to learn, because you have plenty of time to earn.
I like it especially because it rhymes, but it makes a lot of sense. I think also a sweet spot is when you're learning and enjoying what you do, then you tend to accelerate a lot more than if you're kind of going through the tick box of I want to do this and then I'm going to do this. So that's really helpful guidance.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's important advice, like work to learn rather than earn. And also then it gives you like people will go above and beyond kind of situation, which is what everyone is looking for, right? Like someone who's willing to be all hands on deck rather than just fulfill their job description kind of situation. Yeah, and I mean, yes, it is what it is. But
it also fits into my personal philosophy about work, which is developing your transferable skills. And I'm going to preach this every single time I have an opportunity to, because if you look at my own career journey, I've not been very intentional, I'll be honest, about being in a particular industry or focusing on a specific function or anything like that. But I've been very specific about being consistent with the skill set that I have. So being good at project management, being consistent with communication, being a problem solver, stuff like that, the stuff you mentioned earlier. Once you have that down, then you can work on the other pieces of what you want to do in terms of your career, because it falls into place when you have the fundamentals down. So as you learn to earn,
work to learn,
not to earn, and you're building your transferable skill set, then you're setting yourself up for success.
And to add, I mean, and I issued a disclaimer because of Gen Z, but I'm not saying do that for the rest of your life. And also, it actually applies, again, if you're switching sectors. You could be in one sector and for the last 10 years, you might need to take a pay cut to move into your dream sector. So it still applies. Not saying go and earn zero, but as much as, especially the clean energy sector is the most funded, there's still roles that are not paying the same as corporate roles. And if you really want to get in, once you're in, you're in. if you really want to get in, you might have to take a pay cut, and that's why again, work to learn, not to earn applies.
Interesting. And I think the other reason the roles in the green sector might be emerging, so to speak, is because as climate change becomes increasingly more important, especially in Africa, you find that a lot of organizations are setting up operations here, or through the innovation, a lot of these opportunities are coming through, and a lot of these companies are starting up, right? Quite literally. So the opportunities will come. I think it's also aligning to the opportunity beforehand and getting in when you can, as the market continues to boom.
Yeah. I agree. Like, I feel like it's it's not new, but it is like an up and coming sector in Africa. We have a very heavy focus. So yeah, I think it's an exciting sector to be in. It cuts across like everything. But yeah, I guess the pay also will increase eventually. But I think right now it's more of just setting up base, like, like getting all their structures.
Yeah. And not gloom and doom. I know there are paying jobs that pay well already. Right. So it's not that there isn't an opportunity to earn as you come into the sector. I think it just depends on the stage of the organizations, what you're looking for in terms of your interests and your level of experience and where you hope to go. So I think a balance of all those things, you'll always find something that works for you.
Yeah.
We've given advice. What's yours?
My advice is always, okay, I'm like the Gen Z. So I would say, as I know sometimes we would like to stay within job description and may not want to go above and beyond. But I've seen I am very inquisitive and like to learn. Mm-hmm. And so trying my hands in all sectors or all areas of a business, whether it's ops, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, and then just seeing what I like. And I guess that's how I found that I was interested in project management and this sales and marketing aspect. But I feel like if you don't try and don't even raise your hand to ask, then you won't know what you really like and what you really enjoy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, as we say, don't feel all just do it for a checkbox. Just find your passion. Guys, you have to work 9 to 5, 5 days a week. You don't want to make that boring, at least.
No, it should be fun.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah. Any final words?
I mean, the final words would be, Dwayne, do you want to give us any more inside scoop on how we can be successful in finding jobs?
No.
No? You're like, I've given enough.
I think, it's just your CV is, I guess, the first representation of you. And maybe it applies more to the earlier job seekers. Do not send blank emails. Mm-hmm. Introduce yourself, have a subject line, because that's the first. We don't get to see you or speak to you. We get to see your written communication skills first. But yeah, a properly written CV, a little networking in there, and you should be on your way. That's it.
Yeah. Awesome. And join ACCN, guys, because that's where we'll be sharing all the scoop, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Dwayne will come and host a session again on ACCN about CV building.
I think we need to talk about LinkedIn outreach.
Oh wow,
wow, yeah.
That's so true. I think we have 3 other topics we need to go through with you as we continue to have these talks.
We're happy to be back now that it's not so scary.
Oh, good. See, trying things.
Above and beyond.
Yes.
More passion.
That means more passion, more energy.
More hard work. Okay. Great. Dwayne, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us and everything that you've learned about the space, about the sector, about applying for jobs. I'm sure that as we continue to have these conversations, people will learn more and more, and hopefully we'll have more people coming into the climate sector across Africa. And glad to know that you're here to help. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dwayne. We really appreciate your time, as always.
Thank you both.
LinkedIn training coming soon, right?
Thank you both for having me.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys, for watching another episode of the ACCN podcast. Like, subscribe, and
share.
Exactly.